Welcome back to the Grateful Gem podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Shannelle, and today we're talking about the power of forgiveness. Stick around because gems are definitely about to be dropped and you don't want to miss out. So stay tuned. All right, let's go. I need everyone listening to this podcast episode to follow us on Instagram at the Grateful Gem Pod and also follow me at Jasmine Shannelle. Don't worry, I spelled everything out and left it in the notes below. Take a look. See you there. Now let's get into this episode. Welcome back, Gems. First of all, let's just start by saying this. Sorry for the wait. I know it has been a long time since I have done an episode. However, I am here today and I got some good information, and I hope that it grabs you by your wigs. I hope that it grabs you by your neck and that it makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable if this is something that you're dealing with in your life. Excuse me. To be honest with you guys, it has been a long, hard 2020. But I do want to say that 2020 was really necessary for me. There was a lot of things that happened that was very unexpected. But despite all of those things, it's still going to be a great year. It's still going to end on a great note. And then next year will be a great year. But what I don't want people to do is what we all do every year. Look so forward to the next year that we don't endure where we are in this current season. And you guys have to forgive me because I am kind of short of breath today. My asthma has been bothering me, so bear with me. Sorry if you hear me panting because I can hear me panting, but I need to do this. I've been trying to record this episode for the last month, and I just have not been able to do so. So I have a little bit of time today, so I'm going to go ahead and get this out there to you guys. First of all, I want to say thank you for being patient. A lot of people have been asking, where are you? Where are your episodes? So here I am. Here's the episode. I'm going to try my best to get back on a consistent schedule. It's just so much going on right now, you guys. So much going on. And I try to do what I can. I don't want to force anything, as you guys know. I never want to just put something out there. And this is something that I'm actually going through in my life and something that I'm trying to work around. And I also want to talk about something that happened to me just yesterday, not even 24 hours ago, as I am walking in this path. So I'm super excited, super energetic today, and I just hope you guys are ready to hear what I have to say. Hopefully that this is a message for you and it can help you the way that it is really helping me. So let's just jump into it. So as you guys heard, we're going to be talking about forgiveness. So forgiving when unforgiveness seems right. So I'm in a season in my life where I have so many things going on, and the last episode you guys heard is, what was it called? Where is the old me, or what happened to the old me? I can't really think of what it was, but it was something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not looking at my phone. However, I recorded that episode because I don't feel like myself. I'm a different person in so many ways. And because of this, I have actually stepped into another season of my life where God is calling me to grow and God is calling me to do better. And so in that, it's very hard because, people tell you all the time, there's a season and a time and a place for everything. And the funny thing about it is when you're in one season, you can also be in another season. So it can be a season of multiple walks. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think it's just, oh, this is a season of enduring. Yes, this is a season of enduring, but this can also be a season of accountability. So a lot of things that will endure you can also make you accountable. And in doing so, you have to think about the fact that that is a hard task. If you're not responsible with being accountable, or you're not able to be accountable for anything that you do, and you're in this path of enduring and you're trying to be accountable, that's a lot. And people don't realize that sometimes you can be in more than one season, or one season rather has more than one path. So it's just like when you play a game or a season of an episode. So you have season 1, but you have like 8, 10 episodes. So in each episode is different. So yeah, episode 1 was happiness, but episode 2 may be hurt. Episode 3 may be pain. Episode 1 may be entitled to pain from episode 3. Then episode 4 may be about episode 3, 2, and 1. That's just how it works. And a lot of times we don't think about it like that. So for me, it's kind of overwhelming because I'm in a season to my season. What is season? But I am in a season of growing. I am in a season of letting go and being able to forgive. So I have actually been in the season of growing this whole year. 2020 is my year of growth. So this is my season. And then now my episodes are letting go, forgiving, and being kind. Even when people don't deserve it. And, you may listen to that and say, oh, that's easy. I do that every day. But for me, that's not easy. I'm just be real. Because I'm a person who have practiced for the last 27 years to be able to isolate, to be able to pull back from people when I feel that I've been hurt, when I feel like I've been betrayed, when I feel like I can't trust, when I feel like I can't fully be myself around you. I isolate myself, or I just stop conducting, communication or interactions with you, period. And so God revealed to me, that this is not how he called us to be. He had called us to be around people, for people to be in our life. But don't get that confused for any kind of person, because, at the end of the day, you don't walk with fools, because your character will be judged by the, what you're around, what corrupts you. So you don't want to hang around people that aren't wise, that aren't leading you, that aren't growing you. And you want to be that same person for somebody else. So the people that you hang around will really be a reflection or somewhat of who you are. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, birds of a feather flock together. In so many ways. Just because I might like doing this doesn't mean you're going to like it. And just because my personality is this way doesn't mean that's your personality. We all have friendships or family members, relationships that we have that one person where it's like we get along. But when it comes to actual things that they do, say, and the way they act, we don't agree on it. But, we're fine as people. And that's fine, because we're not called to this earth to judge people. And that's the thing that we do a lot. And we're human. We're not perfect. So nobody's saying that, you can't have that right. But just remember that it's not our place to judge people on what they decide to do and who they decide to be. So over the last 5 months, I have been put in so many situations where I have become extremely, extremely, extremely emotional. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I am not an emotional person. Only when I really, 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 really fail with a situation, or I feel that I've put my all into a situation and it turned out to backfire on me, will you ever really hear me call you crying or upset. And most of the time when I do that, I'm not even talking to nobody. I'm at home crying by myself. But for the last 6 months, I have found myself being overly emotional. And in those emotions, I realized a lot about myself by having conversations with other people about the things that I was emotional about. And, it was a harsh reality, because I realized that sometimes, we have a tendency, I have a tendency to be a little cutthroat when it comes to my words, when it comes to my actions. Again, if I feel like, you've betrayed me, or I feel like you're crossing me, or if I feel like you're doing something that's suspicious or shady, I'm going to protect myself. And when I do that, sometimes I may, tell you the truth, but I'm telling it to you real cut and dry. Like, there's no in between. I'm giving it to you straight, whether you want to hear it or not. And that's just me. And, I speak the truth regardless. And a lot of people don't know how to take that. A lot of people don't know how to perceive that, And so I know a lot of people, when it comes to opening up and talking to things about me, a lot of times they don't say 100% what it is that happened or what it is that they really want to say, because they know how I'm going to react. And so for the longest, it's never bothered me, to be honest with you guys. In this very moment, it still does not bother me, because I'm like, at the end of the day, you're going to tell the truth or you're going to lie. If you're not going to tell me the full truth, then don't tell me the story. That's always been my motto. Still is my motto. But And this issue, like I said, hadn't been a problem for me up until the last 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. And so I'm in a situations where I have to, get myself in predicaments where I have to learn to communicate better, where I have to put aside my emotions and my feelings and act on what is right and not what I feel. And to be honest, that's hard because even though I'm not an emotional person, I do act out of my feelings. And my feelings towards you or towards the situation will determine how I act in that situation and how I act towards that person. And like I said, up until now, it has never bothered me. But when I have cut and dry conversations with people and it hits you in the face and it's like, wow, like I knew that, but I never knew that, like people having a conversation with someone else that really, really brings a nail to the head on things that we are okay with, but it's not okay. We get so comfortable in the way that we are, even though it's not right. And I don't know, like sometimes some of those things that was being said in those conversations, it kind of cut me deep. It cut like wounds, it cut right through me. And I was just like, no, I can't be this way. And I realized, I prayed about it. And I was like, God, why am I going through this? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel just so, why do I feel just all over the place? And I prayed about it. And, God was like, you're broken, you're damaged, you're hurt. And instead of letting me repair you and build you back up, instead of building yourself up, you tear yourself down. And not only do you tear yourself down, but you build up these walls around you so that you feel like you're protecting yourself from what could potentially damage you. But really what you're doing is you're making the situation worse. You're hurting yourself more than anyone else could hurt you because you're not allowing yourself to trust people. You're not allowing yourself to not isolate, and you're not communicating as well as you thought you were when it comes to situations because you pull back and you isolate. So instead of saying exactly how you feel in a way that it should be conveyed, you either lash out, get angry, get upset, start yelling, start cussing. Let's just be real. And it ends up just ending there because, again, I isolate myself, and that's just the God honest truth. And so one day I got up and I literally just had like a breakdown. I cried for hours, felt like, because I was just like, here I am in a situation, and something that happened to me in 2014. Yeah, something that happened to me in 2013, 2014. I can't remember what the exact dates or the exact year was, but that long ago, just to give you guys time frame. Something that happened to me in that year, it still hurts me to this year. We're in 2020, and something that happened from 2013, 2012, 14, it still hurts me. And here I am thinking that I have forgiven that person. Here I am thinking that I had got over this. Here I am thinking that that year that I spent by myself and working on myself was really worth it. I had really grown. I had really gotten to get to a point where I could be in a situation where I trust people again, because I wasn't going to let that make or break me, And so here I am, 2020, years later, realizing that whole year that I spent working on myself and forgiving that person was not actually that. It was just a moment of isolation, a moment of me analyzing what happened and not really confronting how I felt about it, not really confronting how I felt about that situation, not really vocalizing how that situation made me feel. And, a lot of times we feel that we have forgiven people because we don't interact with them. We don't come across them. So it's like, how can I really say that I forgave this person? But I imagine, okay, if I see this person, how would I react? So your feelings towards that person will determine if you've forgiven that person or not. Because to be honest, I told myself, I said, if I ran into this person and we actually saw each other and we actually had words, I would just react out of that cutthroat moment. Cold Jasmine. That's just how I'm going to react because of my hurt. And in that moment, it's not going to bother me. And then later down the road, I'm going to well, why did I act like that? Like I said, I didn't care. I'm over it. I forgave. Why did I act like that? And it comes back down to it girl, no, you didn't forgive. You just pushed it back to the burner and hid it away. you build up this wall that the next relationship you get in, no one's going to hurt you like that. The next relationship that, you get into, you're going to protect yourself from stuff like that. And to be honest, that's exactly what I did. And that's why my last relationship failed. And it's crazy because we were, 5-6 years with me and him. And here I am in 2020, just not realizing that was the issue that was going on between me and him. And I was like, wow, here I have a person that was just trying to love me, not sitting here saying that he's perfect, because God knows he ain't, but that ain't my place to judge. Anyways, moving on. But here you have a person that just want to be there for you, just want to care about you, just want to love you. And here I am, like he's always like, why are you pushing me away? Why you? And I'm like, I'm not pushing. How am I pushing you away? You right here. Like, I don't get it. And so I realized that it was because I was so hurt from my last relationship. And that year that I spent by myself, working on forgiveness, did nothing. Because when I got in another relationship, it was the same. It was worse because I put up so many walls. I chose what I was going to open up in that relationship. So this person never really got to see that open me. I didn't really have an open heart. My heart was closed. And, sometimes that, not sometimes, but most times that portrayed in our communication, in my trust with him, in the way that we interacted, and in the way that, our relationship was so broken for 5 and 6 years. And for 5 and 6 years, I have been sitting here praying like, God, what is this? Why aren't we moving forward? What's going on? And that was something I also prayed about. And I'm like, I don't want to get in another relationship and I'm still stagnant. Like, we haven't gone anywhere. We're not progressing. We're not even moving backwards. We're just standing here going in a circle. Or either we're just standing here. So, God revealed to me that, you're not over that situation like you say you are. And not just relationship-wise, but with my family. There's things that happen between me and my mom. I talk about it a little bit, but me and my mom, we don't have the best relationship. And here I am, couple years, about same time, 5-6 years ago, I told myself that I have forgiven her for the things that happened. Are you loving this episode? Great. Don't forget to leave your feedback by rating and leaving a review on Apple iTunes. Also, don't forget to subscribe anywhere, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram to keep up in the know of what's going on with the podcast. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Between us. And it's crazy because that same mantra that I had, I'm forgiving this person, I can move on, I realized that, I hadn't fully forgiven her. So, once I decided to open that door, and first of all, you have to make a decision to open your heart and not just say that I'm going to forgive this person and then go back to the mindset of, oh, I've forgiven this person, so whatever they do doesn't matter. Because you have to have an open heart. And if your heart is not open to receive and actually remove that hurt, then you haven't forgiven anyone. You're only just continuing to pile it up. And that's what I have been doing, especially with my family, not just my mom, but with my family too. For instance, before I get into the situation with my mom, with my dad passed in 2012, I had a hurt that I have still carried. I'm not going to say that it's fully loaded off of me, but I'm working towards that now, and just working towards forgiveness and being open-hearted and being kind, and doing the gist of who I am, being the person that I am, not having to go out of my way to be a nasty person because I feel like someone deserves it, basically. Again, when my dad passed in 2012, there was just a lot of stuff that happened. My dad's side of the family just kind of, in my opinion, I just feel like it was just like everything was flipped upside down. I was being accused of so many things that I couldn't even imagine. My mom accused me of a lot of things, and I was just like, this is crazy. And this was once a side of a family that I trusted, I loved so much, and spent so much time with. And I went from literally that year to several years, not speaking to half of them. I moved to Atlanta. Nobody knew I moved to Atlanta from that side. Moved back. Nobody knew I moved back. I ended up coming back, and my uncle passed, and we were at the funeral, and everybody's just like, "Oh, we didn't even know you left. We didn't know you came back," and da da da. And in my mind, I'm thinking with good intent. You guys, you don't take accountability for what you did to someone or why someone isn't really responding to you, but you can keep tabs on, what they're doing. But we can never be accountable for what we did. And so, I dealt with that the way I dealt with everything. I isolated myself, and I stopped communicating with half of them. And that was okay with me again. And like I said, here I am years later, now just trying to have an open heart, because for one, life is short. For two, God didn't call us to be here to treat people the way they deserve to be treated. Because if we're honest, God treats us abundantly. He forgives us in a matter of seconds before our sins are already paid for. And here we are making people work towards forgiveness, and it's like, oh, you hurt me, so now you got to prove to me again that you're not going to hurt me again. And it's sad, because in reality, if you really think about it, people are going to always fail you. People are not perfect. People are not imperfect. So they're not going to just do everything that you think they're going to do. They're not going to react the way that you feel they should react. They're not going to be there for you the way that they feel that they should be there for you. And I feel like once you accept that people are going to fail you, people are going to let you down, you're going to let yourself down. You're going to also fail others and let them down as well. And once you realize that, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I understand that, but do you really? Do you really understand that? Because if you do, then your heart will be open to forgiving easier. Being patient with people, working on relationships, working on, not having a hard heart or speaking negative towards other people. And I think that a lot of times we forget that part. And I definitely can say for myself, that was something that I never thought about, because it's like, yeah, you hurt me, and now you got to prove to me that you're not going to do it again. Or you have to prove to me that I can trust you. But does God treat us that way? No, he doesn't. We don't have to prove to God that he can trust us and he can love us. So why do we make people suffer the way that we want them to? It's a life cycle of suffering, and it only makes the situation worse. So I really just say, honestly, if you have any, and if you read the Bible, I don't have my notes in front of me, but there's a Bible verse in the Bible that talks about, before, when you pray, each and every time you pray this, you should ask for forgiveness, and repent of your sins, and that anyone you have a hardened heart towards, that your heart be open and you be willing to be kind and forgive. And so that means every time you pray. So think about how many times you pray in a day. So when you wake up in the morning, do you pray? When you wake up, or when you go to sleep at night, do you pray? Before you're eating, do you pray? When you're having a rough day, do you pray? And in that prayer, are you really praying the way that we're fervently? Are you praying the way that we should be praying? And I've been finding myself trying to do this a little bit more lately, as well as when I pray, I'm also asking for God to, seriously come into my life and open my heart, to continuously let me have a heart of kindness towards people, even the ones that I feel aren't deserving. But let me tell you, in doing so, God will test you. Okay? God will test you, and there will become a war against what you're praying for and what you're asking God to do. So in this moment, there was one particular day I woke up and I prayed this prayer, and I said, Father God, I ask that you come into my life. I submit myself to you. Lord, I ask that you continuously open my heart, and that unto my heart, who I have hardened my heart to, that it shall be open. That God, the unforgiveness that I have in my heart is turned into forgiveness, and the unkindness that I have towards people is turned into kindness, even when I feel they're unjust and they don't deserve. Because God, you first loved us and you forgive us with no reason. Your grace is beyond abundant. And, God, I want to be more like you, because that's what it's all about, you guys. Like, it's about us being a reflection of Christ. And it's not always about, oh, you holier than thou and speaking God every 2 seconds. But it's about actually being a kind person and reflecting Christ on earth to other people, so that once you lead by example and people will follow. And in doing so, like I said, when you pray that prayer, you have to seriously mean it, because whatever you pray for, God will give you, and he will test you over and over and over. And you will be tempted, and you have to remember, what did you just pray for? So Literally after praying this prayer, I was having a great day, you guys. I was having a great day, and I can laugh about it now, but I'm telling you, call anybody that I had this conversation with about what happened, and I was not a happy camper, okay? And it took for me to have to come back to reality, remember what I prayed, talk about it to my family, and to help me calm down. And I could laugh about it, an hour or 2 or 3 later, or day or so, But no lie, you guys, no lie. I'm sitting here, and I went somewhere. I think I went to go get my prescription. Anyways, that's not important. I left the house and I came back home. And so this is like evening, probably around this time, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a weekend or weekday, whatever. So, I get home and I get a message on Messenger, where Facebook is or whatever. And so it's one of my longtime friends. And she's like, asking me about something that I hadn't shared with her yet. Something that I hadn't shared with a lot of people. Like I said, it's been a crazy couple of months. I have a lot of things going on. And so she asked me about something that I know that I had not opened my mouth and physically told her or vocalized to her yet. Because, I just hadn't got there. And so, I asked her, well, how did you find that out? And, who told you that? And why would they do that? And da-da-da. And so when she told me who told her, I reached out to that person, which was my mother. And that's when it went left. So I reached out to my mom and I asked her, and I was like, hey, did you tell such and such, about a personal issue that I'm having? And, I didn't ask you to do that. And I specifically asked you not to do that. But, it's just like you did what you wanted to do, So at first, it was just a matter of us just going back and forth, not arguing or anything, because at this point, I'm just literally trying to have a conversation and really see what happened. But I already have proof that she said she told my personal business because I have the screenshots, and how else would this girl know? So I'm sitting there going back and forth with her. Now, the story changes over like several times. First, she didn't say anything. And I was like, well, did you, you post anything on Facebook about it? Because I'm like, this girl is messaging me from Messenger. So you had to either say something to her personally, or you posted it on Facebook. And my mom is good for posting everybody's business on Facebook, which I've asked her not to do. And so she's like, I didn't say anything. I didn't post anything. Da da da. And then she goes and she asks, well, who's asking you, or who said something that I mentioned it? And I said, in my mind, I'm like, well, if you didn't say anything and you didn't post anything, why does it matter who's asking me about it? So that let me know right then and there, okay, there's a lot somewhere in between here. And so, anyways, the conversation goes on and on and on. And so finally, it went from you didn't say anything, you didn't post anything, you didn't say anything to anybody, to you told 3 people. And it went from 3 people to 5 people. And then it went from 0 people to 3 people to 5 people to like 6 people. Now, mind you, here I am literally praying this prayer for forgiveness, to have an open heart, to be kind unto others, even when I don't feel they are deserving. Even when people betray me and step on me the way that they have, because I am easily to isolate. So you guys, in this moment, I literally think about reverting back to the old me. Because mind you, I'm still walking down this path of forgiveness. So I'm not 100% shielded to say, oh, I forgive you. Like people think that it's just so like, oh, I forgive her. No, I ain't forgiving you. I'm not forgiving you when you literally just did this very thing that I communicated and I asked you not to do. And this is the reason why our relationship is failing. And I communicated to you what I expected, and what did you do? Keyword, you failed me. And you guys, it turned into an argument, or she wanted it to turn into an argument, which it wasn't an argument, because like I said, I wasn't going back and forth with her. I literally was just speaking the truth, and I communicated to her that, I personally asked you not to do that, and I don't appreciate you telling my business. It wasn't your business to tell, and the fact that you're sitting here trying to justify why you did it lets me know that you did it intentionally, and you did it intentionally to hurt me. And so in that moment, you guys, I was hurt. I felt betrayed, and I really felt like all of the things that me and her had been through, this is the same exact thing that got us to the relationship that we have today. Me isolating myself, me shutting down, me not opening up to people. This is one of the reasons why I do that, because of things like this, especially after I verbalize and communicate to you, what my expectations are. And you seriously go against that and you do what you want to do. So now the story gets interesting because it turns from me asking her about a question, me asking her about something she did to offend me, to her making a comment about something we talked about a couple days prior to that. Now, mind you, the statement that she made had nothing to do with what she did. Instead of apologizing and saying, hey, I'm sorry that I did that. I know you vocalized and you asked me not to do that. I'm sorry I overstepped, You went on to try to have a conversation or argument with me, I guess, about some things that you had brought up. And so in that moment, I realized what was going on. And so I sent her like a laughing emoji, or like not a laughing, but like just a picture that like kind of brushed it off. And so I immediately called my auntie. And so I literally was telling her, I'm like, here I am trying to forgive and trying to work on communicating and not isolating and not getting so upset. And here she is doing the very thing that she always does. This is why we don't have a relationship now. I just can't do this. I don't know what else to do. People will literally take advantage of you. She just stepping all over me. I can't believe she did this. I'm just like going on and on. And so my aunt like basically reminded me, like, Jasmine, what did you pray for this morning, girl? Like, what are you asking God to do? And she said, let me tell you something. She said, you have to remember that people will fail you. And she said, in this moment, do you think that it's right to forgive her? To be honest, no, you don't. You don't want to forgive her. You don't want to be kind to her. She said, but in her doing this to you, if she called you tomorrow and asked for something that you could actually help her do, would you do it? And that goes against what you're praying for. So she said, when you pray and you ask God to reveal or God to do something, you have to trust and believe that it's going to be done. And it's not going to be done the way you see fit. He's not just going to miraculously open your heart and all this forgiveness is going to flow out. She said he's going to put you in situations where you're going to have to literally continuously work on kindness and forgiveness. She said, you can't control people. You can't control the way people respond. But what you can do is control you. She said, so what is Jasmine going to do? Are you going to let her get you upset? Are you going to continue to isolate yourself and shut yourself off from the world because people are going to continuously fail you? She said, because does that go against what God said that he wanted for us? How are you going to fellowship if you're continuously isolating yourself? And guys, I was like, girl, that's when I started laughing because I'm like, this is so funny. Like, it's funny, but it's not because it's serious. And it literally shows how important and imperative it is to literally mean what you pray and mean what it is that you're trying to do. And it was in that moment that I realized that I can't just be sitting here saying, God open my heart, kindness unto others, and here this is happening. And I literally had to pray again and ask, God, yeah, I didn't go to the place where I normally could have went, but I did let her get me upset. I did let her rattle me up and almost take me there. And how can I let her do that when I'm sitting here walking in forgiveness? How can I let her get me stirred up when I'm walking in kindness? And so you have to be able to, literally be able to make peace with whatever decisions you decide and be able to accept the fact, again, that people are going to fail you. People will intentionally do stuff to hurt you and then play victim against what they did to you and try to flip it on you. And in that moment, again, I was reminded of the betrayal. I literally asked you, don't do this, and you're doing it. But this is what you always do. This is why our relationship isn't where it's supposed to be, because this is what you always do. You do what you want to do, and then instead of owning up to it and being accountable, you victimize yourself and point the blame at me. Now, tell me how this was my fault. It wasn't. But people don't know how to be accountable. Like I said earlier, if you're in a season of being accountable and maybe she's in a season of being held accountable, she ain't doing too good. But that's not my call to judge, my judge to call. I'm only accountable for me. And I know that in that moment, I didn't have a play or say in that, but only how I reacted. So I tried my best to stay composed and remind myself that, Jasmine, you don't have time to be sitting here arguing with her about this. She did you wrong. Take a minute, think about it, and ask God to help you forgive her. Not only for this moment, but for the years of her doing this to you. Ask for forgiveness. And it's not going to happen in a day, you guys. It's not going to happen overnight. But I guarantee you it will happen. But you got to be willing. You got to be open to be receptive and be alert to that forgiveness. And I'm going to tell you, it's hard because it's easy to fall back into what you're used to. And it's hard to step out of it. But once I did step out of it and I actually looked at that situation on the outside in, because I couldn't understand how the last comment was even relevant. That had nothing to do with what you did. But when I realized what was going on, all I could do was laugh. And I'm like, girl, no you didn't. I see what you had to do there. But seriously though, and again, like I said earlier, walking around with unforgiveness will literally stop you from being in your purpose. God has so many things in store for not only you, but everyone. He has so many things in store for us, and it's ours to take if we are willing to. And by that, I mean, if you're willing to let go of things that are holding you back. There are friendships that's holding you back, relationships that's holding you back, unforgiveness that is holding you back, bitterness that is holding you back, jealousy that is holding you back. Manipulation. There's a lot of things that everyone is different. There's a lot of things that's holding you back from grabbing the very thing that you've been praying for years. Very thing that God has for you, and you know He has it for you, but you can't understand why you haven't got it. And the reason is because you're holding on to something that God is telling you to let go of. And I'm with you. Mine is forgiveness, y'all. And it took me years to know. Like I said, my last relationship failed. And to hear that from other people and like have that reality, it's like you say it all the time, like, yeah, we didn't make it. But when you have other people that look inside you and they read you like a book because God is using them, and they tell you the very reason why it didn't work out, and now you pray about it and you realize, like, dang, that's crazy. Like, all because I'm sitting here holding on to something that hurt me. And not just something, but some things. Holding on to stuff and carrying baggage. I'm like, how does that work? How are you going to be in a relationship with somebody who's trying to love you and you don't trust them? Or you guys can't communicate because something that he does reminds you of something your ex did. Or, whatever. Like, there's a million reasons. And here I am saying, I forgave that person, but yet and still, I'm acting in unforgiveness. How does that work? It doesn't. And so you continuously try to work on something, or you continuously try to move through something with all of that. And you end up you end up tripping over all the baggage that you're holding. And then it comes to a point where you have to literally just stand there because you can't move. You're bowed down with so much baggage, trying to figure out, why am I here? And that literally has been me for the last 5 months. I'm like, why am I here? God, what did I do wrong? I don't get it. And God broke me down and said, your unforgiveness and the way that you hold things against people for dear life, and the way that you keep it held on too tight, even when I've told you to let it go and you're still holding on to it, you're going to continue to go in these circles and get nowhere if you don't let it go. And the very thing that you're asking for and the very thing that you're praying for, I can't give it to you because you're not going to appreciate it. And when you do get it, it's going to be damaged because you're damaged. So that was my message for you guys today. I really hope it resonates with a lot of people. I hope I'm just not talking, but I think it's really something to really look into. Of course, I'm going to leave some videos down below of what I've been listening to help me get through forgiveness. Because forgiveness is something that I'm working on. I'm working on having an open heart, being kind, and doing unto others even when I feel like they don't deserve it, because that's how God does us. And I'm not going to get it right every time, but when I find myself making mistakes, I continuously remember that every time we pray, we should be asking for forgiveness and repenting, and asking for any hardness against other people should be removed. And so the more you pray that, and the more you mean it, and the more God tests you, and the more you're tempted, and the more you pass, you will succeed. And it will be easier to just forgive people. And people are going to look at you one day and say, that such and such hurt you, whatever situation hurt you, and it would have broke me. But you still standing. How you do that? And you still communicate with whoever in that situation, and you're actually at peace. You're actually happy. Or you're going to look at somebody and say, I mean, you didn't get this, but that person got it. But you're not bitter. You're not jealous. How you do that? Because there's going to be something that you're not good at that's holding you back because you won't let go of it. But when you continuously pray for it to be removed, and you pray for God to use you to get through it, and you mean it, God will use you. God will help you. And when he does, man, you will feel so relieved. You will feel so at peace. You don't have to avoid people. You don't have to avoid situations because you know how to handle them. So I'm excited to see, what God is doing in your life. I'm excited to hear about what God is doing in your life. And I really hope that this message helps someone, because this forgiveness walk is not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy. But I'm still here and I'm still trying to get it right. And I pray that I fall a million times before I get it right, because if it's just a breeze in the park, I ain't doing something right. And to be honest, in the past, it was a breeze for me. And that ain't right. It shouldn't be a breeze, because it took years. I'm talking about, like I said, I'm still holding on stuff from 2012. Really longer than that, because me and my mom, that happened like 2006, 2005. That's years of hurt. If I can let that go in a week, we got a problem. So there's things that I've been carrying that I literally just have to let go of, because those things will shape you into the person that you are today. And the person that I see is a person that I love me, but in some moments, because of my hurt and because of my pain, I don't like who I see. And so in order to change that, you have to make a moment and be real with yourself and say, I'm going to let this go. And I'm going to ask God to send me the people and send me the resources and send me the tools that I need to get myself through this, so that he can help me get through it. And you got to mean that thing, man. You have to mean it. Mean what you say and pray, because it's power in your tongue. And if you're dedicated and you have a mindset to where you're going to get through that, you will. And I'll be right there at the end of the road rooting for you, because I want to see everybody win. And I pray that you get released from the baggage that's holding you down. Because it's the very thing that you're praying for and waiting for is right there, but you can't grab it because you being held down by too much. And that's what God has been telling me for the last couple of weeks. So, again, this has been a long time coming. I know this one may be a little long, but hopefully you guys resonate with it. And I'm, again, going to try to get back on my schedule and upload for you guys. And, yeah. I'm excited starting this journey again. But I will see you guys on the next episode. Keep shining as the gems you are. Remember that God loves you because you are precious as gem. We are not perfect, but he created us in his perfection. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.